Hi, it's Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com. Just got it at the Tom Hanks starring A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Marielle Heller's ostensibly a biopic, but not really, sort of a rumination on all things Mr. Rogers. Now look, this is a film that tries to do a lot all at once. It tries to actually tell Mr. Rogers' story. It tries to tell the story of a father and his relationship with his own father, a father of a young child working with his own dying father, and try to interweave it within the ethos, the ideology, as it were, of Mr. Rogers as a children's entertainer. I'm not sure it succeeds. The film is a little bumpy along the road. It never quite connects the way that you actually would want it to. But every time Tom Hanks shows up on screen and he shows up with Mr. Rogers, the entire film is lifted. Unfortunately, he is in some ways a secondary character. They actually talked about it at the Q&A that he's such, and for lack of a better word, a pure character, such a dedicated person to other people that it's hard to focus, especially on a fiction film, on somebody like him. There's not a lot of drama to deal with here, so you need someone else who's a little bit miserable to be lifted up by the spirit of Mr. Rogers. Now, again, I think that it's a strong enough film, definitely worth checking out, and it works if only for Tom Hanks' extraordinary performance. I mean, honestly, if they didn't cast him, who knows who they would have got to get somebody as equally loved and beloved and as equally sort of emotionally there and available. It's another of his long line of these performances that you're completely enraptured by. The rest of the cast is a little bit weaker, frankly. It's a little bit more middling and maudlin at the same time. You're just feeling that it's a straight up melodrama that happens to have Mr. Rogers who shows up every once in a while and lifts the whole thing up. When it does, it really starts to elevate. If you haven't seen it, the should have been Oscar winning but wasn't documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, that Morgan Neville did is unbelievable. It really gives incredible insight into not only the man, but basically his politics, about this notion of this Presbyterian preacher who found within conservative values of true compassionate conservatism. And given all the politics that are going in between left and right now, it's a really fascinating way of somebody showing sort of a true Christianity in its most pure and in some ways its most beautiful form, one often corrupted by those with differing forms of power. And so as a nice Jewish boy, it was really nice to actually see this reflected in a way that's simply not reflected very often. The film touches upon that. So the film sort of has that as a subtext, whereas the documentary really dives into it as text. And I think that for me, that's why it was much more interesting. Nonetheless, documentaries are always going to be a little bit more hard-hitting than something as sort of more public-friendly as a fiction film. So if this does nothing else, it allows you to have Tom Hanks show up, be Mr. Rogers, get people who have never even seen the children's show, get interested in the man and his character, about what made him, about how unique he was, and how powerful his mission was, for lack of a better word. His church was television, and the congregation of children that he spoke to, and he wanted them to find in themselves the beauty within themselves, and that was such an extraordinary character that frankly no fiction film, even one with somebody like Tom Hanks in it, was going to actually do that justice. Anyway, the film's okay. It's nice that it premiered here at TIFF, but I think in the end it's a little bit disappointing because it did not live up to, I guess, heightened expectations. Anyway, for That Shelf, I'm Jason Gorber. Plenty more films to come for. Please follow us on social at That Shelf, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell that shows all the new videos that come out. Thanks and all the best.